She knew she had enough room in her heart to love the children, but she was worried about the strain the added children would put on her own children. They were so used to their own privacy and having her all to themselves. She knew her children were basically good kids, but she also knew about their little pranks, even though they thought she didn't. Denise thought about her daughters and tears welled up in her eyes, and she thought she would burst with pride and love for them. They were really good girls, and she was grateful to God every day that they didn't give her the problem other young people gave their parents. She hated those talk shows that showed young people disrespecting their mothers and themselves by airing all their dirty laundry for the whole world to see. The newspapers and televisions were full of stories of young girls in all sorts of trouble, and Denise knew she was blessed beyond measure to have not one but three teenage children that respected her, themselves, and God. She thought about the quiet and introverted vet, and she and the incredible talent that lay hidden in her that no one knew was there until she happened to sit down one day in front of an organ and began to play. The musical ability that God implanted in those fingers that she chewed practically all of the fingernails off of never ceased to amaze everyone that listened, especially Denise. Vet never had to take a lesson in her life, and all she had to do was listen to you for a minute before she picked up on what you were singing before she was able to play along. Denise was also grateful for the fact that Vet seemed happy and content to use her musical talents exclusively for the glorification of God. She had never seen or heard Vet play anything not connected to the service of the Lord. She had to admit she had a lot to be thankful for because she had never had to go to the school even once because of behavior problems. Vet was a very controlled young lady that took pride in the fact that she was focused and refused to allow anyone to push her buttons. Denise had to smile just then because thoughts of her youngest daughter popped into her head. No, Vet didn't have to worry about confronting anyone that chose to taunt or antagonize her because that was Net's job. Denise's youngest daughter was indeed a rebel and a force to be reckoned with whenever she felt she had been challenged. Denise remembered many times she had been called to the school because of Net's temper or lack of good judgment. Net simply would not tolerate anyone causing her or her sister any discomfort and never backed down from any challenge. Denise remembered the time she had been called to the school by the dean because Net had been found with a dangerous weapon in her possession. When Denise sat across from her daughter in the dean's office, she was consumed with fury at the sheer stupidity of what she had done. The dean was explaining that they were going to have to suspend Net for a week because she violated the school rule by bringing weapons into the building. But Denise was only getting half of what he was saying since, in her mind, she was strangling her daughter. She interrupted the dean and asked if she would have some privacy to speak to her daughter alone, and he politely and happily agreed to leave the room. After he had shut the door, Net very wisely looked at the floor and did not say a word for fear of being killed. What were you thinking, bringing a knife to school, Lynette Denise Jones? Ma, I'm sorry, but I only brought it to protect myself. What in the world is going on that I don't know about that would warrant you having to carry a knife to school? There are these girls that keep saying they're going to jump me, so I decided to protect myself. That's what I'm here for. Net, that's what the dean is here for. All you have to do is talk to somebody. I know, Ma. I'm sorry. You're sorry. You're sorry. What if you had gotten into a fight and cut one of those girls' neck? What if you had gotten into a fight and one of those girls had taken that knife from you and killed you with it. Did you ever stop to think about what would happen if a cop had stopped you and found that knife on you, Miss Jones? No, she answered with her head bowed and tears sliding down her face. No, of course you didn't. All you think about is making sure you have a reputation and everybody knows you're not scared of anybody well. Now you're suspended and you are on punishment the entire time of your suspension. Is that clear? Yes. Hand over your jewelry and your cell phone, and you are not to talk on the house phone or watch television for the next 4 weeks. But, Ma, it's only for 2 weeks. Do you want to go for 5 weeks? No, Ma. I want you on your knees at the altar every Friday night. Do I make myself absolutely clear? Yes. I don't know what gets into you, Nat. Your father and I taught you better than this, and I don't ever want to hear of this kind of thing happening again. Is that clear? Yes. If you are having problems at school with kids threatening you, go to the dean at once and then tell me as soon as you get home. If he takes too long to do something about it, that's what I'm here for. But give us a chance to do our job. We can't help you if you don't let us know you have a problem. Do you understand? Yes. Good. Let's go. Denise didn't have to go to the school anymore about Net, but she did receive a few phone calls here and there about her constant talking and clowning around. Yes, she had her share of trials with the girls, but on the whole, she was truly blessed that things were as good as they were. She also knew they were incredibly spoiled, and she took all the credit for that. So, having to share her attention with children they had never even met was going to be a bit difficult to say the least. She wasn't so concerned about Matt and Vet. They always had a way of learning to adjust to all types of situations. But Net, now that was a horse of a different color. Net was the baby, spoiled and extremely selfish. They all catered to her in their own way, and she was not going to release the title of being the baby so easily. Yes, a rough period of adjustment was ahead, and Denise knew the only way she was going to get them all through it was with the help of the Lord. Lord, you are definitely going to be getting a lot of requests for help from me, she said, looking up. Thinking about the pain, confusion, and fear Tracy's children must be going through caused tears to swell in Denise's eyes and broke her heart. She remembered how she felt when her husband and parents died, but she was surrounded by her children and her family, and those poor children had no one. Denise's mother had always told her everything happened for a reason, and she believed it. So, as the pain subsided from the deaths in her family, Denise began looking for the reason she had gone through such a painful experience. That's when she received a phone call that would change their lives. Lord, could this be it? She thought to herself. Could this be the reason for all the trials of sadness in my life? To identify with these children and open my heart and my home to them? Well, if I'm supposed to care for these heartbroken angels, thank you for choosing me to do your will. Looking at her watch, Denise was surprised to see how much time had passed and realized it was past time to start dinner. Getting off the couch and lifting her hands far overhead in a long, lazy stretch, she headed toward the kitchen.